Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I have an accent, so I hope you can understand me, but if you can't, just shout out and I'll try and clear up what I'm saying. Basically, as Taran said, I do learn music right now and I am still a student. Basically, before I start talking, so you know where I'm coming from, my musical background is in Gurmat Sangeet, and then I learned from, I don't know if you've heard them, Bhai Manbir Singh, their generation, by Harjeet Singh, so I studied on them for a while, and then I moved on to Shastri Sangeet for the rag aspect, because I felt that the rag aspect wasn't, like in its truest form, doesn't exist in our panth right now, and that's just how it is. So to learn it, you must go outside, like Guru Sahib sent Singhs out to the Pandits to learn, you know, Sanskrit, etc., and then bring it back into the panth. So that was required, and I felt that I needed to do that for myself, so I went out and started learning Shastri Sangeet. And so currently I'm learning from Pandit Shantanu Bhattacharya, who is a exponent of the Patiala Ghrana from Punjab. And I've been their student for 3 years now, and my studies continue under them. So before I bore you with that, I'll move on to Gurbani Sangeet, which is what you're here to hear about. I mean, you've already heard about a bunch of stuff over the last 2 days, so I'll try not to go over the same stuff. I'll try and tell you some interesting things that I found out and my experience with Kirtan and Gurbani Sangeet in rags. But I'll cover the basic stuff first. I mean, I don't know how much you've covered already, just the standard instruments, rags, etc. And then we'll move on to what I find interesting. Also, I won't be talking for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. I'll try to keep it in 1 hour and I'll take a break in the middle. So if in the first half hour or something, it's a bit repetitive, in the little break, come ask me questions or just tell me what you want me to talk about, and then I'll just spend the next half hour discussing those topics. Cool? Cool. Okay. Yeah, so basically Gurbani Sangeet, I mean, semantics, a lot of people call it Gurmat Sangeet, but the olden terminology usually says Gurbani Sangeet, so I mean, I'll stick to Gurbani Sangeet. This is what I'm trying to cover during the presentation. So the instruments, I mean, I'll try to cover what rag and tal means. I won't be able to do it justice in 10 minutes. Then I'll talk about Kirtan Maryada, which I'm sure someone would have covered, but I'll give it a shot. Virtues and flaws of Kirtanis as written by Kirtan historians. I'll try to cover that. And Partals, Guldastas, Taranas, which exist in Gurmat Sangeet. I'll explain that later. And then I'll talk a little bit about Kar. What does Kar mean? Because most people don't know what it means. Yeah, and then I was just in the middle, I just keep talking about stuff that I find interesting and I'll just chuck that in there. Okay. The instruments of Gurmat Sangeet. To my surprise, there's no harmonium in there. I mean, I don't know if you guys picked that up, but it doesn't exist. It never existed. It came into India in the 1800s. And the Dwarkin is the guys that made it. They were commissioned by the British in Kolkata to make the instrument. And then the British brought it into the Varsat. But that aside, Taus, Dilruba, Saranda, Jodi, Pakavas, Tampura, these are the main ones that are prachalat now. We also had Rudravina and a bunch of other instruments that I haven't included. But I'll talk about these ones. You can see in this photo, Singh sitting there with a Jodi, which is different to a tabla. Rabab, Saranda, which Benji talked about earlier with Paisham Singh Huni. Tanpura, it's funny there. Ataus, Dotara, which is not really played in 6 instruments anymore, and that's a sitar. But pardon? I don't know.
What's Pakavich?
Pakavich. Okay, I'll play a video of a Pakavich. It's non-existent now. What basically was, it was just a. This is a Jodi. It was that like put on the sides and there's a joint in the middle. So the thing's kind of. I mean, Guru Arjan Dev Ji is credited to making the Jodi, and it was just the Pakavich is a very loud instrument. It kind of takes over everything, and the Jodi we cut it in half and put it, you know, up straight. But I'll play a video and you know what Pakavich is soon. But yeah, so that's the main instruments. And before I go into all the instruments, well actually, you know what, I'll do that now. Hold on. So, where is it? I mean, and these guys aren't Sikhs. I mean, that should be a testimony to me not being able to find Sikhs that play the music in the first place. Not as in, you know, I'm not trying to bring other people in, it's just I can't find people who play the instrument to the level that's required, so I have to get people that don't play it, that aren't Sikhs, sorry. So this is someone called Bhavani Shankar. That's a tabla. And can you hear the pakavaj in the background? Play it again with sound effects this time. Where is it?
Is it like deep bass?
Yeah, that's the bass of it. Yeah. Well, basically, you can just tell from there. And if you see, it's actually much heavier than the tabla, and the sound is much more resonant because they didn't have mics back in the day. Tabla is a very recent invention, and it became famous in the 1800s and a bit later. But back then, they didn't have mics. And if you notice in Asaki bar, when they sing the party, the tabla guys, for some weird reason, just go into a trance and start hitting the tabla and doing all that. This is where the history comes from for that, because typically the pakavaj player or the jodi player in that party section would then show their prowess over the instrument. And once that was done, then the Sangat would say, okay, good, now they'll say the Bani again. If you notice, after every party, the tabla guy says the party again. So the Sangat can hear the Bani, but the music was there in the first place. I mean, you have to notice, why don't they say the party again? I mean, the shand again, or the saloks again, they don't say it. That party is made for the tabla guy to show his musical prowess in a sense, and capture the Sangat's attention back again before the next shaka starts. And then they stop again and they read the Bani and bring everybody back. So that was the instrument that used to be played. Then it was kind of chopped in half and put on the side, and Guru Arjan Dev Ji's created for that, and it became a jodi. And I've got it here played by Manbir Singh. And I mean, I don't know, everybody's a musician in here, but can you see how the open hath is similar to how they play in Asakiwad parties? It's very open-handed right hand, open-handed left hand. That's how they used to play. But this was the instrument that used to be played in the courts of Guru Sahib, not the tabla. That came in afterwards. I've got videos of all the other saj, but I don't want to go through everything right now. I'll just show you quickly Esraj by someone called Ranadhir Roy. So we hear the Dilruba all the time, but this is how the Dilruba used to be played back in the day, and this is someone who's been an expert at the instrument. This is Rag Jajavanti, which was really loved by Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. Just listen to how he's playing the instrument to get an essence. Yeah, I'll finish that. But yeah, you can see the instrument, that's how it's meant to be played. And if you notice how he's holding the instrument on his lap, if I go back to that photo, the Singh's actually holding the taus like that as well. So in the modern day, you hear people Dilruba, they sit down and they put it in front of their gota on the ground and then they play it, which is fine, but this is the original way of playing it with Gurbani Singhi.
Sing?
Yeah.
You know they say that Guru Nanak Sahib Ji played the Rabab, or Bhai Manbir played the Rabab.
Yeah.
And I've heard like it's either plucking, and some people say it might have been string.
Yeah.
How come Rabab can stay in the Gurbani Singh tradition? Like, we don't really see it later, or
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to go into that right now, because it is I mean, the Sikh Panth as a whole has been almost conned in a way by the Gurmat Singh academies into what the Rabab is. I mean, what we get told, if you hear when people come over from India, or even when we go to India, the Gurmat Singh academies, they have this tiny little Rabab. It's about this wide, and they sit and play, and it's like ding, 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 they play like this, and it almost sounds so fickle, you know, it's like, it doesn't have any depth to it, the instrument, and it's not meant to. That Rabab is an Afghani Rabab that's played with, you know, dancers. Belly dancers use that Rabab, and we've been told that's our Rabab. But our Rabab that was with Guru Nanak Dev Ji was something called a Drupadi Rabab. It's much bigger. I mean, this big, and it goes up like this. I mean, Singh's playing it here, and the sound's much richer. And that's the thing right now, is that this music has gone so far from the Panth that we don't even know. When we get told something, we just believe it, because we don't know it. There's no fact checking. So I've actually got a video of the original Rabab, or like, would have been close to the original Rabab. I'll play it for an idea. It sounds much richer and deeper than the Rabab that we hear Gurmat Singh proponents talk about.
That's probably what Guru.
That is very similar to the one we have a Rabab of Guru Arjan Dev Ji.
Yeah.
That is pretty much like almost the same thing. You know, Unni ki da farak hoga and the rest is. But can you see? It's definitely not. I don't know if you've seen the modern ones that they're playing. The Darbar Sahib even has them. It's definitely not that, and the sound isn't the same. Because I mean, you can't imagine Guru Sahib saying when Madana Bani aayi and he just goes. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. We have to have the logic to kind of say, no, you're wrong there. That's just not right. It doesn't create mood. It doesn't hold any value. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, yeah. So I'll move on from the instruments. Is there any other questions about the Saj? No? We're good? Okay. So the rags are over here around 60, somewhere around 60. People say Katti Ragya, and again that's false. There's just not 31 rags. There are 31 Sampuran rags, and there are more Mishrat rag. Mishrat rag means when you take one rag and another rag and you mix it together and you produce a completely new rag, and it has its own identity. It's not the same rag anymore. You can't say, I mean, people have a baby, it's not the same person, like it's a different person. So you have different rags. We have around 60 rags in Granth Sahib Ji, and I mean, if you count Dasam Granth, Sabra Granth, in that count just goes through the roof. Also, people ask me all the time, how many rags are there? That's not a valid question. I mean, the rags are being made every day. There's rags that have been cemented in history, like these ones, but new rags are being made every day, and it just keeps going and going and going. There's no end to this music. But I'm not going to talk about it much because I'm assuming that they talked about it already. Going through the list quickly, if you noticed, Bilal Dakhni. Does anyone know what Dakhni means? South. So when Guru Sahib went down to South India, he kind of heard these rags and were inspired by them and put them in Gurbani. He felt that these rags expressed the emotion of the Shabads, and then he put them in Gurbani. Also, so there's Bilal Dakhni, Ramkali Dakhni. Yeah, someone there, Gauri Dakhni. Also there's something here, Sudhang. Asavri Sudhang. I don't know if you guys know what Sudhang means. They say Sudhang means Shuddh Ang. So the Shuddh Ang of Rag Asavri. So that's a different type of Asavri than normal Asavri. So I mean, this is complex. It's very hard for me to just tell you what it means in a minute, because I would just void whatever I've been doing for years now, because it isn't that simple to explain all this. But for the sake of the presentation, I'm going to move on to the next part. Okay, I'm going to give this a crack. That's a disclaimer of the biggest sort, because I can't explain it, but I'll give it a crack. I'm going to try and explain Rag and Tal, which is the essence of Gurmat Sangeet. Rags are musical structures that have at least 5 notes, and they can go up to, using all the notes that are on offer in music. But basically they have 5 notes, at least 5, 6 or 7. That's the options you have. The rags are associated with the time of day and the season, and that's why Guru Sahib used them. There was someone who asked a question in the last lecture about lyrics. I think Benji was pointing out, there was a photo of 50 Cent up, and they were talking about why music can be bad. And someone mentioned something about lyrics, that, 50 Cent is bad because of the lyrics, not the music. But this is what's important. The music itself is capable of steering our emotions in a positive direction, independent of lyrics. There's no lyrics required. Someone can do an alap, which means singing with the phrase ah. And the music itself has the power to it's a meditative power, and it can be very fickle. It can take you into a fickle state. You don't need lyrics for any of that. So, taking that into account, Guru Sahib took that and then put Bani on it. He realized the power of music independent of Bani and lyrics, and then, superimpose it with Bani to make it so much more. And so, rags in itself are very comprehensive and do carry emotions and real feelings. That being said, with this 5-note, all this kind of stuff, even if I was dead, I'd still be a body with 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth, but I wouldn't be Manbir Singh. That's what rags are. You can't say rags are 5 notes. Rags have this structure. Even if they have that structure, if you don't sing them properly, understand the nuances of the rag itself, you're not doing any justice to the rag, and it can't be called that rag anymore. So, that's a definition, but it's definitely not the rag. Like, I am a body, but that's not all Manbir Singh. There's a lot more to each individual in here. That's exactly the case with rags. And every person interprets rags differently. There's not one emotion. You hear it all over the internet. They'll say rag X means Y emotion. Rag Z means A emotion. And if you sit down and think to yourself that the musician can only convey that one emotion from that rag, that's kind of pathetic to me. If you say that all of Shri Rag Shabads in Guru Granth Sahib Ji have one emotion that Shri Rag has, you're doing injustice to Gurbani. It doesn't make any sense. The Rag's emotions are in the hands of and the capabilities of the Kirtanis, which is why it's important to train the Kirtanis in the proper system and with the proper, what we call talim, which is the tutelage. So, that's all I can talk about rags right now. Can't go much into it. Tal are the beat cycles. So when we sing, when the tabla starts, it goes in beat cycles. I've used different words in here. I'll put them in so it gives me an opportunity to explain them. So an avartan is a full cycle of a tal. So if a beat cycle is 10 beats, an avartan is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That whole thing is an avartan. Avartans consist of vibhags. Now that I'm already talking about 10 beats, I'll talk about a tal that has 10 beats, which is Chaptal. Chaptal has 10 beats, and the vibhags, the divisions, are 2, 3, 2, 3. Din na, din, din na, din na, din, din na. So 2, 3, 2, 3. That's a vibhag. Then a tal has something called a tali, which is a clap, and a kali, which is an empty section. These are things that characterize tals. And I can't explain what tali kali means it's too short a time to explain that. We have to sit down with a tabla, and I have to talk about it, otherwise I can't convey it that quickly. The sum is the simplest one. Sum just means when you come back to number 1. That is a sum. So the start of the tal, what we call it, is a sum. What just came to me now, because I'm talking about 10 beats, is an example that I noticed when I was sitting in Sangat. And you guys have all experienced it, but you guys don't know the depth of it, what it means. Because the musical, someone hasn't come and told you about the musical significance of it. The Sikh Panth was so advanced in their music, and it was so ingrained in every single person in Sangat, that if you noticed, when we sit in Sangat, when everything's finished, we sing a Shabad, Tera Kita Jato Nahi, Mainu Jo Kitoi. We all sing it. I was sitting in Sangat, and I kid you not, everybody's singing, there's like hundreds of people there, and they're singing it in the perfect 10-beat cycle. I was shocked. Sitting at the back, and I started counting in my head, I was like, why does this sound like it's a tabla's playing with it? But if you notice, if I sing it, it's perfectly in 10 beats. I don't know how to count it with the mic, but I'll put this down. But And I'm not gonna botch it, so I'm not gonna get rid of one beat, add one beat. But this is a testimony to how far the Sikh Panth was in its music, that every person in the Sangha had that in them already. They're singing in 10 beats, which isn't something that you just start singing. You start singing in 4 or 8 or 6. They're the basic ones. But if you notice, Tera Kita, I just swapped it. Tera Kita Jato Nai Mainu Joga Kitoi Ma Nirgun Yare Ko Gun Nai Ape Tars Peoi. And this is going according to the Tali and Kali of the Tal as well. It's not just that I'm counting to 10 and it's finished. It's actually following. Where I go? My mic's doing funny things. It's changing the screen. How do I go back? So it's actually following the Kali and the Sam. It's not just in 10 beats. The Kali of Japtal is on the 6th beat. And that's exactly when the Vishram of the Shabad, or the break of the Shabad, happens. So on the 6th beat, the next half comes. Tera Kita Jato Nai Manu Joga Kito. It's always happening in the same cycle. And I was sitting there and I was like, this is a testimony to how great, the Sikh Panth's music was. That you have anybody walking into the street, doesn't matter what profession they're from, doesn't matter what they do in their life, and they sit down, and it's not them, it was the musicians and Guru Sahib who taught the musicians and cultured that spirit in the Sikh Panth, that even the Aam Banda was sitting there, and they're singing in 10 beats and they don't know what's going on. You go to Darbar Sahib and you have people, truckloads of people come in from the Pind, they're sitting there, and they don't know what Japtal is. But it's the culture of Sikhi that everybody sang in Japtal when they sing Tera Kita Jato Nai. And I found that was incredible. And that was a side note, but let's get back to the serious stuff. Okay. The rag timings. This is the standard, you sing this rag here, you sing this rag here. The only interesting thing that I found in this is, if you notice 12 to 3 a.m., there's no rag specified. So Guru Sahib is saying, stop singing and go to sleep now, so you can wake up in the morning. But that's an interesting kind of, evidence you could call it. Or if you have an Amrital argument to make, that's something that you can make, it's different. Yeah.
I've heard recently some people saying that maybe it wasn't this strict. How do you believe that they were that strict in the Guru time period when it came to...
I don't think they can be that strict, to be honest. This is a very surface level discussion of rag music and Gurmat Sangeet. Because if you think about it, if it's Shri Rag, which is an evening rag, very tough rag as well. In Gurbani and Bhai Gurdashi's Vas talks about Shri Rag as being one of the top. Yeah. But it's in the evening somewhere, I don't know if it's on that list, but does that mean you don't sing the Bani in the morning anymore? That's the conundrum. It's like, what do you sing it? So, what I've heard from Kirtanis is that they would sing the Shabads. You can sing wherever. For example, Rag Asa is sung in the morning and sung at Solar, at Darbar Sahib. So, Kirtanis did take liberty with this. It's not a rule, it's kind of, advice you could say. Because rags, I believe, and my teachers have taught me, that rags were made, there's a lot of stories about they came from here, they came from there, but they say rags were made by musicians, inspired by nature. So they thought that this time of day, warrants this rag or these musical notes. The Kirtanis took that as directed by Guru Sahib, but you can't not sing Kirtan at some, you can't not sing a Shabad when you want to. So we didn't really follow that rule that strictly. This is just for the sake of understanding rags, and they do have a timing, But yeah, so there's no rag specified for that particular time. Yeah. Okay. I was trying to reference, but everybody's a sing, so it doesn't work. But if you want, I've got the proper references with me. So, traditional format of... Man, my voice is going to go there, I'm not going to be able to sing, then I'm going to be sour about this whole thing. Okay. The format of Kirtan was, it started with a Shan, which is purely musical. There's no Gurbani involved. It's just to get everybody's senses kind of centered. and get everybody on the same plane. It's like when, I don't know, when you have a langar, everybody's like waigu, waigu, and everybody comes together and sits down. You know, it's like that. It's getting your senses, your birthing together, so you're not thinking about 10 different things at the same time. You're thinking about that. Everybody sit down, and to start singing, they'd start playing their instruments. So the tabla guy would play, the vajra guy would play. A resurgence in this style is coming back now. You hear people in Darbar Sahib, Bhai Singh, when he plays a little bit of a shan with his harmonium. A lot of Kirtanis play it. A lot of Jatha guys are appropriating it in what I call cultural appropriation. Stop it. But shan was played. I'll play a little example of a shan by someone called Shud Singh Pradhan Singh. They play the shan in the Kirtan before they start. Thank you. This is what I need. So they play the shan before they start their asakiva. Yeah. So that's a taus or a diruba. It's one of the two. And a tabla. And then they start singing. And they continue to sing Asakiva. But that's an example of the first. I forgot I have to put it up before I can point to it. Here it is. Yeah. That's an example of the first one, Shan. And it's just musical. You just play the music. It's a way to test the instruments. Everything's good. Everything's in tune before you start singing. And then you're set to go. The second thing that they're singing is Mangalacharan, which is kind of sometimes happens now and mostly doesn't. It used to be in Chartal or Dhamar, which are both tough tals. These days, there's a new adaptation of Chartal called Iktal, which is what everybody does it in now, and it's not like that's a cop-out. It's just something different. So that's what happens now. You sing it in Chartal, and you usually sing, the shabas that they sing before they start Kirtan, the Mangalacharan, the do-tar panktiyan diyan, hum ab gun bhare gunai, panktiyan like that, just to kind of get the senses focused. Then they go into Drupad or classical. I mean, the reason I got out of that is I actually want to play the music. I don't want to just talk about it. This is someone called Bhai Samun Singh Ji, who was very talented. I mean, to the point where All India Radio used to get him to come in and just sing Kirtan for half an hour in their classical music slots. This is the Mangalacharan. So there's a tal going and he's singing the Bani. There's no composition as such. It's just some coughing. Then he moves on to the Drupad style, which I talked about, Drupad and Dhamar, which I got told that the Singh talked about yesterday, so I won't spend too much time on it, I'll just play it. That's a shabad they're singing in the Drupad Dhamar. Then they move on to the faster paced compositions. That's Tal Frodhist for those who actually learn music and want to know. It's Frodhist is 14 beats. But yeah, so that's what the musical aspect of Kirtan used to sound like. Then you would, in the Drupad of Dhamar, which I played earlier, Tabliya was encouraged to kind of come in and take the stage and get the sangat going. There was a video, but I forgot to download it, that I would like to play it here. But I used to take the stage and just kind of go with it. Play like a solo almost. Then the easier compositions would come afterwards, and by easy I don't mean like easy as in easy now. I mean easy as in easy back then, which was very, very tough according to today's standard, but easier, you could say, compositions. Then you finish with a body in the same rag, and I mean, I know you've already covered this stuff, so I'll move on. Kirtan Maryada by Singh 77, or maybe the same guy 20 years earlier. But the rules, the four main rules that were written by him were that the shabad has priority over rag, which Panji was talking about earlier, and I'm sure I hope every speaker has emphasized here. But that isn't the focus of my lecture today, so I'm not going to talk about that much. But the number one is shabad has priority over rag. The second is that the kirtani mustn't add or remove words. This is one that a lot of kirtanis have taken liberty with. So I was a bit iffy putting this in here because a lot of credible kirtanis do put in words like G, Pyarya, and these kind of words, and there's a lot of discussion as to should they be doing it or shouldn't they be doing it. I personally have learnt old compositions, and I mean some of them are taught to you with the word Pyarya in there. They tell you that look, this word is not in the Bani, but in the old compositions it was in there. So I'm going to leave that with everybody here to make their own decision. I'm just here to kind of give you the information that it exists. This Singh said there's no words left. Bhai Singh's book also talks about it. I mean, there's a lot of books that say different opinions, but some add words, some don't add words, and yeah. The Rahul line must be used as mukra. Mukra means mukra means the face, but in bandishes, mukra means like the bandish you hear, the line that you hear is called the mukra. So the Rahul line must be used. You can't just, I mean, when someone has a baby, you just don't go and say Lak Kushiya Ba Chaniya and everybody's happy and goes home. That's not the face of the shabad. That's not what it means. So you use the Rahul line that was written in there with the sole purpose of telling Sikhs, this is the central aspect of the shabad. Don't muck around with that. Just that you take the rag and you sing it as per Gurmat Usul. But that was the third rule according to Singh 77, let's call him that. Numbering in shabads must be followed, and formulating antras are what comes afterwards. What's the Gora word for it? Stanzas. Okay. Gora word for it. Okay. The English word for it. Yeah, for some reason that always holds more weight. Like you don't know the Gora word, and that means you don't know anything. But stanzas. I'm just going to call it antra because it's better. Formulating antras. When you're making antras, you must follow you can't just take the fourth antra and then put it first, and then you take the second, then you took the third in. You can't do that according to the rules of Gurbani Sangeet. You follow it as you go. Even in the olden days, they didn't call it antra. Each antra used to have a different tune, and it was called Sanchari, Abhogi, etc. They had different names because they used to sing them differently. Okay. This was something interesting that I put in there because I feel like, the Sangha doesn't have exposure to this because we keep associating Kirtan. Every time Kirtan comes up, we just discount all musical aspects by saying you have to sing it with pyar. I'm not saying you don't sing it with pyar. I'm just saying you sing it with pyar and in accordance with what Guru Sahib said. So this is the very kind of physical aspects of the singing that comes in. And this was written by Gyan Singh. Dayal Singh, in 96. He wrote, you can have a read, I'm not going to go through all of them, but these are the virtues of a kirtani. So before you start, accurately tuning all your instruments so nothing is out of tune. Singing in tune with concentration, correct pronunciation, singing with sincerity. Yeah, Vyakarans, something interesting, correct pronunciation in all 3 octaves. So clearly, we don't have to take these rules, but what we can take from them is clearly people were singing well back then for someone to come in and then make these nuanced, observations that, okay, so a bunch of people must be singing fluently in all 3 octaves for someone to come and say, there's 10 people singing in all 3 octaves, but this person and this person's pronouncing well. So that must be carried on. So what I'm trying to say is everybody in the Gurmat singing world, they were good musicians, which is why these rules were then observed by him. full competence in lay, which is the beats that we talked about, and knowledge of sur, which is the note, the pitch. Yeah, so even this, ensuring all variations and ornamentations end correctly according to the sum. Which means the Kirtanis were making variations. They weren't singing Siddhe Shabas like we hear in CDs right now. They're using their musical capabilities and their vision to use their music to make the Bani more impactful to the listener. That was the role of a Kirtani. And so clearly they're doing this, that's why Sing 96 made that observation. I've got all these books are in Punjabi, so I've actually translated them, but I took photos of the book if anybody wants to double check, because I could be making this up.
Sorry.
That's what thing. The negative attributes of a Kirtani. It's the same kind of stuff. Singing through their teeth. I mean, if you notice, this is all very physical. A lot of this is very physical stuff. Singing through their teeth, incorrect pronunciation, someone who screams. I don't know. I'll leave that there.
Awkward.
Yeah, it's got awkward. Yeah. Next. Singing with inhibitions of fear, there's no problems in that. Singing without conveying meaning or in a rush, shaky or weak voice, which is kind of almost an attribute. Like people look at that and they're like, oh, it's singing in Berag, and it's like, no, there's lack of training there. Like, Kirtan needs to have training. Distorted facial gestures, again. Next. Singing out of tune. Next. And this is another list. I mean, it's the same list, and he kept going. He really went hard on the other ones here. Yeah.
What does that mean, pressure on neck?
Which one?
Is that second one?
Yeah, so what happens is when people sing in higher octaves, they'll sing like this. Or just do all this kind of funny stuff, because there's no proper training in how to make the voice come out of the did or the shakti or the talu, which is where the voice production comes from. And so they'll sing with a lot of pressure, and what that does is in the long term it kills your voice. Your voice will be dead by your 45, 50. And it's just not ideal to sing in that way. So that's what that means. Unnecessarily moving hands and feet while singing. It's not mine, it's Sing 96. This is Sing 96, don't come after me after this. Unable to hit the required notes and emphasizing specific notes more than others. So this is more talking about when you don't pay attention to the rag. The rag requires certain notes to be emphasized and certain notes to just be hinted at. And if you're not doing that properly, you're not doing justice to the rag. So that's the flaws of a Kirtani. Okay, so should I keep going or should I just take a break for 5 minutes? Boss?
Keep going.
Huh?
Keep going.
Okay. When I put this on here, a bunch of the akkars went away. So, I mean, that's not the purpose of me putting this up here anyway. I'm showing you this for some other reason, so you don't need to know all the akkars for this particular example. But this is something called a partal. Does anyone notice anything different about the structure of the shabad? Anything out of the ordinary? If you were just to read it.
Like the words are adding up.
Pardon?
They're just adding up, like dividing.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Yeah, like if you read Jab Sahib, there's like every sham there's like a beat to it. You can't sing this in a beat. You just can't. It will just change. You sing Manjapo Ram Gopal, Haratan Jave Ral, Har Gurmukh ka Taksal, Har Oho Kripal, Tumre Gun Agamagochar, Ek Ji, it just goes away. It's gone. That's clearly a meter going on. I mean, if you can't see that, I don't know how else I can show you that there's a meter going on. It was written with music in mind. There's no other way to write it. That is the simplest way to tell someone that the beat changes here. You can't sing, I mean, you can sing it, but it's it's unnecessarily tough and it sounds out of place when you sing it in the same beat. It says partal. Kannada madla chota, partal. So Guru Sahib saying, I'm singing this in Kannada, and it's a partal. So partal means, par means changing, partana, tal means the beat. So the beat changes in this shabad. Does anyone want to have a crack at why the beat would change? What's the need for changing the beat? Except for, no. It was a joke in my head, but I'm not going to say it. I'm trying to learn how to filter. Yeah, anyone want to have a crack at why the beat would change? Just in the middle, someone starts changing the beat. No, okay. Well, basically to get everybody back in. Because the beat changes, that's the first thing you notice. I mean, if someone starts playing tabla suddenly, you just go, what the hell's going on? So the same thing, the beat changes. Even in, I mean, if you listen to any kirtan, if you listen to Darbars and Ragis, when they come back to the main tune, they play the same beat, but they play it faster. If they play it in Dugan, something called a Dugan. If you listen to the Kanagiri Jatha, when they want to do Simran, they play the same thing, they just speed it up like 6 times. So the point is the beat has the power to pull you in. And that's why Guru Sahib said Partal. So at that point you change the beat, and if by chance people in the Sangat were dozing off or their attentions were going in different directions, it's like, come back now. The next, it will change just as the next stanza starts. So when the next stanza starts, the beat changes. So you come back before the next, message comes in Gurbani. And these are all kind of things to keep in check. So if you think about it, Guru Sahib first put Shan in there at the start, just music, to get people's attentions back in. Because Guru Sahib knows that, it's very tough to concentrate in Kirtan. So you put Shan in, get everybody's concentrations in. Then when they start losing concentration, you put something like Partal in, which is then to bring Sikhs back in and start thinking about the Kirtan, the Bani again, through the music. So this is the practical way of using music in Gurbani. Yeah. And the last line is also different from this. If you want to have a crack at reading it, but Hamare Har Pran Sakha Swami Har Mita, there's words missing, but you get the point that I'm trying to make here, hopefully. Guldasta. Guldasta just means, flowers. My throat's going. Okay, so this is also, Partals are unique to Gurmat Sangeet in a sense. Not many people sing Partals. Guldastas exist outside as well in Shastri Sangeet and Indian classical music. What they mean is the Kirtanis were proficient in many, many rags. So when they read a Shabad like this, these are both from Dasangrant. When they read a Pankti like this, Ramkali or Sorat, Sarang, Malsri, or Bhajat Gauri, I've highlighted the different rags in that. So this is a rag, Sorat is a rag, Sarang is a rag, Malsri is a rag, Gauri is a rag. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rags in that one Pankti. So Kirtanis, what they would do is, they change the rags as soon as the word comes. So they're singing in one rag, they're singing in Ramkali, and then as soon as Sorat comes, they'll change the rag to Sorat. And then they can't keep changing it, otherwise it just sounds like Khichdi, but sensibly they do it. They do it sensibly. And they might take...
Can you give us an example?
I can just make it up right now with this.
Yeah. Can you?
I can try. But
okay.
So Ramkali is a very different rag from Sorat. So Samava Mavalane Ravaga Marza Ramakali Ara So that's Surat. Different rag. So you can bring Ramkali in, then when Surat comes in, you bring Surat in. Jasri, Gaun, Malhar, Bilawal. Again, same rag. Different rag, sorry. So that comes in. Guldasta, then they also change the tal. So they change the rag, and then they change the tals. So they played around with this concept because they were proficient in rag Sangeet, and they applied it to Gurmat Sangeet.
Which Bani is this from?
Doesn't matter. Again, Sarang, Shuddh Malar, which is one rag, Bibas, which isn't used in anything, Ramkali, Hindol, Gond, Gujri, Lalit, Paraj, Gavri. Paraj is in Gurbani, in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Lalit. No? So these, also, something just came to mind that I should point out that most people don't know. When you read rag Kannada isn't one rag. So when we read Kannada, it's not one rag. When we read Todi, it's not one rag. When we read Kalyan, it's not one rag. these are families of rags. So it's like, I don't know, the Tillo family. Like it's like a family of rags, and there's many people in that family, you know? So Kannada has Nike Kannada, Adana Kannada, Shahana Kannada. I mean, the list goes on. There's at least, I mean, I can sing 15 of them right now. There's that many Kannadas. So the liberty is there with the Kirtani to sing the Kannada that, well, I think the liberty is there with the Kirtani to sing the Kannada that they feel inspired with when they read the Shabad. But that is definitely not one rag.
Can you show this one Shabad with the different versions and how it might elicit different things?
So this, I'll just do something right now. So this is Manjapuram Gopal. I've learned this composition in Savari Panchtal, which is a 15-beat tal. And in Kan, Manjapuram Gopal, Har Ratna Javerla Al, like that. That's a Kannada. But so is Manjapuram Gopal. That's Shahana Kannada. Different. Like evidently different. You can listen to it. I don't have to point out the notes musically for you to. Sa ne ba ga ma je sa pa ga ma da. That nya, so the pause on the da that comes, it comes in Shahana. Different Kannada. So when I read online, it says Rag Kannada means this. It's like, no, it doesn't. You know, and I hope that you guys take that home, that this knowledge isn't there. People are just, and they're taking advantage of that. They just kind of come and tell whatever people know, they just kind of half, you know, the knowledge has gaps, and a lot of people take advantage of that. But Kannada is a group of rags. Todi is a group of rags. Kalyan is a group of Shuddh Kalyan, Yaman Kalyan, Todi, Gujri Todi, Miyaki Todi, Desi Todi. I mean, there's a lot of Todis as well. And they sound, Kannada still sounds somewhat similar, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, those sounded different, but...
Yeah, but
yeah.
Todis, there's some Todis that sound like nothing like each other. Like you can't even make the comparison that this is a Todi and this is a Desi Todi and Miyaki Todi or Gujri Todi. I mean, worlds apart.
Are the notes totally different in there?
Notes totally different.
Okay.
So Miyaki Todi, I mean, this is turning into a musical discussion which I didn't want to have because I don't know if everybody will be kind of receptive to it. But the basic notes of Miyaki Todi and Gujri Todi are different completely to Desi Todi. If you've heard Desi Todi, if you had by Bakshi Singh Ji's Kirtan, Aaj mujhe aaya, Aaj mujhe aaya. That's in Desi Todi, that's a Todi. But Satguru aayo sharan tyari, that's a Todi. So when it says Todi, which Todi do you follow?
So how are they related then, if the base notes are so different?
They have patterns that are the same across the different notes. So the notes can change, but the patterns remain the same. If that, I don't know if that makes sense, but if there's, I mean, for those who learn music, if you have Shudre and Komalga and you have Komal-Re and Komal-Ga, which is different notes, in Todi, Re-Ga combination is very prominent. So that will happen across all different Todis. And Kalyan has Pa-Re, and there's different combinations, different rags. But I mean, I don't know, I feel like this discussion can bore a lot of people, so I don't know. Okay. But yeah, so you get my point. These are families of rags, not individual rags. I mean, they must be studied separately to kind of understand. Well, that's that. Okay, I'm going to take a break after this. I don't know if you guys need it, but I need it. Tarana. This is a very musical concept. There is no other way of saying it. It's just the music. In rag singing outside of the Sikh Panth, there's a lot of instruments, tantra instruments, so like sitar and all this kind of. If you notice sitar, it can be a very speedy instrument. Same thing with sangi. All these instruments can be very speedy, and the vocals can't keep up with this instrument. So what they invented was something called a tarana, which is you just say vowels. You just say dani, dani, tum dani, tada, stuff like this, and you just sing along with the instrumentalists. There are theories that the words actually meant something, but a lot of people just say, look, they were just words that were made up, just so we could sing as fast as the instruments, because we can't pronounce, the shabads as quickly as the words, the lyrics as quickly as they can play. Guru Sahib took this concept and actually, injected meaning into the tarane, which is incredible if you understand what's actually happening. This is a whole genre in itself that exists in Kirtan, and you have someone who's that apt at that genre that he takes that one aspect of it and then kind of just creates a new genre where he takes it and says, okay, you've been singing this without any meaning, I'm going to inject meaning in this, so it turns into bhakti, it turns into Kirtan. So this is something that's present in Sarablo Granth. There's a bunch of tarane by Manbir Singh Huni sing this, a bunch of other people sing it as well. Dagarti Drum Dik Tang, Dagarti Din Din Dirna, and so on and so forth. But yeah, he sings it by Manbir Singh. Tadradani Dani Tumdani Talal Tom Dirna. That's how he sings it. That's his, I think it's his own composition, but that's how he sings it. And in Gurbani, if you Tadradani Dani Tumdani, ki you are the giver. Tumdani Talal Tom Dirna. So he's given meanings to these tarane. I've learned tarane outside of the Gurmat Singhi tradition, and the words don't get given meanings. This is a tarana outside of the Gurmat Singhi tradition. Guru Sahib heard people do this, heard musicians do this, and said, okay, you're singing this, but what if we put bhakti into this? So he took a genre that didn't exist in Bhakti Sangeet and took it in and then injected meaning. That's the kind of musician, a musicologist that he was. I'm going to take a break, just have Barney.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Is this type of tarana, is it only in Dasanbagi? Or is
Yeah, only in Dasanbagi. Only in Sarablo Granth. It's not in Dasanbagi as far as I know. It's only in Sarablo Granth. I've seen it, and then some singers heard that I had this Sarablo Granth at my house, and then they were really keen, so they just came over and they didn't talk to me, they just took it. They're like, we're taking it, and I take it. So I didn't get a chance to take the photos of it, but I actually found the tarane in Sarablo Granth. Because I mean, you hear stuff and you always want to fact check people. And so I'd heard people sing this and say, Guru Sahib did this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a copy of Sarablo Granth and then read it myself, see if I can actually find the tarane if they actually exist. And to my surprise, they were exactly like this. They're exactly like the tarane that I learned outside of Kirtan, but they exist in Kirtan. And which is incredible. As a musician, I'm in a completely different field of music. And I'm studying this music. And I learnt tarane, which is an advanced kind of exposition of music. And then I find out that we had this already at Apne Kar Chasiga. In Kirtan we have this. Guru Sahib used to get sings to sing this all the time. But because it's all lost, I have to go that way 50 miles. Before I said miles, not kilometers, so I'm being considerate. But 50 miles, and then learn them.
use kilometers?
You're in Canada.
Never mind. My bad. Okay, on that note, I'll take a break. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take a break. If anybody has questions, just come and talk to me. If you want me to talk about something specific, then come and talk to me as well. And if you don't want to talk to me, that's perfectly justified. And all these santhas in the path. I mean, everybody, hopefully, in this room aspires to do Sahaj Path or does some sort of Sahaj Path in their life. You're going to go through the Guru Granth Sahib Ji reading words that you have no idea what they mean. And that's, for some reason, it's shocking to me, but it's never going to hit anyone. What does it mean? They read, Partal Mahla Chauta Partal, Kar, Panchmathi, whatever we read earlier. It said Kar. We'll read it and just move on. There's no doubt, there's no double, nothing crosses in our mind on what does Kar mean? Why does it just say Partal Mahla Panchmathi, house? And then it says house in the Sirlek, but we never think of it. It's not important to us. We've been told that it's irrelevant. We've been told continuously that music is irrelevant. And so we ignore when it says rag and this. We just read it as if it means nothing. We just read it, okay, that's done now. Now the Bani starts. It's not just done, it's there. It's part of the Bani. So it's tragic when we ignore what Kar means. And I'm going to try and talk about it today. This is from my research. I mean, you feel free to, hopefully you find something new and then come and tell me about it. But this is what I found out. There's 17 Kars in Gurbani, if you read it, Kar Pehla, Kar Duja, and it goes up to all the way up to 17. The different theories that were around, because we didn't know what it was, so we had to make theories up. because we lost it. So the theories that were around were the first one was that there was tals. Kar is something to do with the beat. We don't know what, but it's something to do with the beat. The second theory was that kar means something to do with murchana, which is linked rags. I'll talk about it in a second. That gets technical. But something different for tals is all we need to think about. The third one was it's something to do with the sur, the pitch. Shruti is a specific pitch. I'll talk about that as well. So rags have different notes, and each note has a frequency. You know, whatever 100 and something hertz, or that's pitch. And so each note has a pitch. So different pitch positions for each note. Maybe kar has something to do with that. And the last one was nyas, which means prolonged notes. So, for example, rag Darbari Kannada is a rag form of Kannada, and you stay on re, the second note. So nyas means pause. So where should you pause? So kar something means that something to do with where you pause on the note in the rag. So rag Kannada, kar something means that you pause somewhere. I mean, no one knew what this stuff meant. This is just postulating theories at this point. So just for your knowledge, this was what was around. People talking, could be this, could be that, could be this. So, okay. So before I move on, I'll just get rid of Naus. Naus was kicked out because it doesn't make any sense. There's 17 kars, and there's sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni. Sa is repeating, so that doesn't count. But 7 notes. You can't have 17 different ways to pause when there's 7 options, if that makes sense. So that was kicked out. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. You're left with tals, which is different, to do with beats. You're left with murchana and swar, shrutis. So these are both to do with the pitches of the rags. This is to do with the beat cycles. This is now what was left. And you have to kind of think about, could it be this, could it be that? So what they came up with was, again, kar, tal or rag. So some aspects of, historians that we all respect. Khan Singh Nabha in Mahan Kosh says it's tal and rag. How? He doesn't specify it because it doesn't make any sense. It can't be both, but it's written in the Mahan Kosh. And we never kind of thought about it. But he just says that it's tal and rag. Doesn't make any sense. How can it be both things? Dr. Charan Singh says it's tal. Bhai Veer Singh just quotes, he just took what Bhai Khan Singh Nabha said. He just took exactly what he said and pasted it, like word for word. And then at the end he quotes Bhai Sant Singh, who was a Juri Daggi, and says that, but Bhai Sant Singh used to say that it was tal. These are the perspectives that came out of it. So, as you can see, they don't actually know what's happening. And these are the, people treat Bhai Veer Singh Ji as a historian almost, but, they don't know what's going on. The rag theory was found to be incompatible. I'm going to try and explain this. I still don't know how. So bear with me if it doesn't make sense. Shout out if I'm saying stuff that doesn't make sense. So, anyway, this will help me. Who has learned any sort of rags, like any kirtan, where they've been exposed to the basic sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa? Okay, that helps a lot. So, you know how sa is one note away from re, the shuddha is. Yeah? So sa, skip a note, re, skip a note, shuddha, next one is ma, skip a note, you're to pa. So there's certain spacings between the shuddha, the bilaval thati, you could call it. So what it was saying was that you take rag Kannada, which will have its certain notes, and if it says Kartija, you make the third note the new sa. That makes sense? So if you have sa, re, ga, if you guys have learned sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa, there's sa, you skip a note, there's re. You know what? I could use this, couldn't I? Yeah. So, so the theory was that there's sa, and then you skip a note, if you remember. So this is sa, you skip a note, re, you skip a note, ga, and the next one is ma. Just think about whoever taught you kirtan, whichever keys they taught you from. This was the gap that happened. So what they said was, say we take bilaval, which happens in Gurbani. This is the exact spacing for bilaval that they use. You skip one for pa, you skip one for dha, you skip one, and that's ni, and then you put sa again. That's the exact one. So someone, if I've made a mistake, just let me know.
Fine.
Yeah, looks good. Okay, so that's the spacing. So what they said was, you take bilawal, scale, not rag, scale. So rag bilawal means the bilawal scale, and kar tija would mean this is your new sa. This one. The third note is your new sa. That's what they said. So now this becomes sa. This becomes re. This becomes ga. So can you see how there's a space here? That space is gone now. See how it changes? So that's what that theory was of this is called murchana. So what they said was, this is one rag scale, and you just kartija would mean you start from this one, and it would actually change the notes.
Do you run into the 17 problem again?
That is the only problem. I mean, even this doesn't make any sense, because this is talking about scales, not rags. Rags are not scales, far from it. So you can't even use this. But that's the basic one. If you notice, I mean, you could go kar pehla, duja, tija, chotha, panjma, chhema, satwa, athwa, nova, daswa, gyarwa, and then what do you do after that? What's car number 17 going to do? Like, do you come back and start going, hey, it's senseless, it doesn't make any sense. So that theory had to go, it doesn't make any sense. Whoever postulated it, they themselves said it doesn't make any sense. Bhai Genny Dayal Singh writes about this in his book as one of the theories that was. So the only thing that's left from that list now is, there's Shruti as well. I'll explain that as well on the board. So this one's gone. This one is gone, which we just talked about. This one is left, specific Shruti position. I'll try and explain this again. I'll give it a shot. But this is a note. I'll take re, for example. No, da's a good one. Da's a good one.
Do you need a brush? Like what? Maybe we give him a napkin.
Okay, so we take ga, for example. It's thank you. Notes are pitches, right? So if you were to look at a note from an oscilloscope or something, whatever it's called, you have a frequency, it'll be like a range of frequencies. Say like 200 to 210 is sa. Say, it's not, but say it is. So the ga is actually a band of frequencies. And this is where someone who sings out of tune comes from. This would be the note in the center. So someone singing around here, someone singing around here, they're singing out of tune. When we start learning rags, each rag has a specific shruti position. So the ga for one rag could be here in the scale, and the ga for another rag can be here for the scale. Does that make sense? And this is the smallest change in frequency of notes that we can hear. And Rag Sangeet, which is utilized by Gurmat Sangeet, uses this concept.
So now,
It's very hard to hear without instruments. I can try, but it won't be meaningless, because you have to have trained ears to even.
okay, yeah.
You don't understand it. But I mean, you know the Rwari Kannada, very common rag.
The one that you.
No. I'm trying to think of a common rag that will have it. It's a very common rag. I don't know how to explain it, but if I sing it, I can sing it, but it won't make any sense. You have to have it. You have to be sat down. You have to sit down, learn music for a while, and be taught the differences. I mean, you can't just hear this range. You can hear it, but you can't pay attention to it. So I'm just doing this for this purpose. There's no point.
That's fine.
There's no point. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is I didn't want to do this musical just happening, but it keeps happening. So this is sa. If you go lower, you get ni again, and you get komal if you notice. Alright? So this is komal re. I mean, I don't even know if you're understanding. Hopefully everybody's following. But so there's a rag called Komal Rishabh Asavri, which is some people sing it as Asavri Sudhan, which we sing it as. But Komal Rishabh Asavri is one rag. Rag Basant Mukhari is a different rag. They both use this note, just in this range. their treatment of this re is very different. And I can't do justice to it. I'll give it a crack. But obviously compared to my teachers, I can't. I'm still a student. But I'll give it a crack. Their treatment of re is very different. So if you had a scale here, Basant Mukhari, the re is always trying to go that way, in that range. In Komal Rishabhasavari, the re is always trying to come this way, in that range. So it's the tendency is towards the sa in Komal Rishabhasavari. So that's the Komal re. Sa, sa, that's the flat re. Now if I do the re that tends upwards, sa, it's going upwards, curving upwards. The tendency is upwards. Komal Rishabhasavari, the re will come down. Sa, it's coming downwards. So this is very nuanced singing, and this has to come through. I mean, this rag music is, it's full of these nuances. You can't get away with that, without doing them. If you don't sing these nuances, you're not singing rags, you're singing something else, which is what's happening right now. But does that make sense, what I just did? So that's what happens, and each rag has their own different nuances, and there's a lot going on. So basically, getting back to it, what the theory was that the kar means that it's something to do with something in here. So kar could identify that, I don't know, some position in here or something like that. That's what they were saying. But it doesn't make any sense because it's not specified. So, that's cut out as well. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, cool. So all that's left is the tal. That's all left. There's nothing else. So they had to come up with a theory with tal. If you notice, when I talked about tal, I said there was a sam, a kali, and a tali. So there's a few talis in each tal. So teen tal has 3 talis. And so on. It's how you categorize tals. So they made this table up of tals. What kars mean? Kar 1 means dadra because it has 1 tali. Kar 2 means rupak because it has 2 taliyan. So this is how you categorize tals, and this is what they say kars mean. If you notice, Chachari, Kol, Mishraban, Mahashani, Muchkund, Vishnu, Rudra, these tals. Okay, another joke. It's gonna go now. But a lot of these tals, we can't sing them right now. We don't know how they work. There are some tals that we do know. There's shikar tals and stuff that haven't been written up here, but most of these we don't know. We kind of run out after this. After this point, Panch tal, we kind of finished. We're done.
Even in other sangeets, they don't have them?
No, they stopped. These tals were played with the pakavaj. Remember what I played with Bhavani Shankar was playing earlier? Bigger tals, bigger beat cycles. They were played with that. When the tabla came, these were phased out. And not in a negative way. It's just how Sangeet has evolved, but this is the history of it. This is what kars mean, is what they say. I can't vouch for it, but this is what makes sense, makes most sense. So this is what it meant. And no one even ventures into this kind of stuff. No one does this. So the testimony if this is what kars mean, this is how it was sung, it's amazing that Gursikhs were singing like this.
When you brought up the part of the example and you showed how just the way the shabad is structured shows that there will be a difference in the thought. If you pull up a shabad that has say Kadistadama or Tedama or whatever, is it obvious in the structure of the shabad?
No, not to me.
Okay.
Not to me. People much more musical than I am, maybe to them, but not to me and not to anyone that I've talked to. So I don't think so you can backtrack because you can take very small shabads and sing them in very big tals. So you can't kind of backtrack with that. Say Kar 17, maybe, because that's up to the musician again. They could see that shabad, they could see 4 words spanned across 14 beats, or they could see 4 words spanned across 3 beats, and they compose accordingly. Yep.
Is the logic then, most shabads in Bali don't have a kara word, right?
Yeah.
Is that then open to the...
Open to the kirtan. So you mean whatever you feel.
And so the kara is where you said wanted it in a specific...
Yeah, so at that point he has written that this was sung, I'm singing, that means he's specifying exactly everything he's done. Say I'm singing in this rag, in this tal. There's nothing left to specify anymore. So So everything is specified in that sense. But yeah, I mean, if that makes sense, it's good. Okay, so this is the interesting stuff. There's nothing on the slides because I'm just going to talk now because I couldn't put everything on the slides, all the research on the slides for this. Rag Maru. This has been the bane of my existence for lasted a while. Again, same thing. No one knows what it means. Whoever's claiming that this is Rag Maru at this point in time, I mean, ask them what it means. Maybe they know what it means, but if they're singing what I've heard them sing, it's not Maru. It can't be dated beyond 1991, which is terrible for a month that's only 300, 400 years old. We're pretty new, and for us to not know what these things mean already, it means, I mean, people could make whatever up. So basically, what happened was Rag Maru. I'm not going to take the name of an institution. They sat down in the early 90s and they said, look, with the best of intentions, and they said that we don't know what these rags mean and there's no one singing rag, etc., etc. So we're going to sing rags now. And the rags that didn't know what they meant, they sat a committee together, and all the names are available for the committee, and they just had a discussion between themselves, and they said this is that rag. And so the Rag Maru is one of them. In 1991, for all that concerns me as a Kirtani, they made the rag up in 91, which is terrible to me because I want to know how the gurus wrote it down. But I don't know. They just wrote Rag Maru. So what they did was, they had a whole committee and they asked everybody what you think Rag Maru is. Everybody had different opinions. I think it's this, I think it's this, I think it's this. Then I turned to someone called Dilip Chandra Kumar, I think that was his name, and I said, what do you think he is? He's like, in 1940, I heard Bhai Manbir Singh singing like this. That's it. That's all it took in 1991 to formalize Rag Maru as how it's sung today as Gurmat Sangeet. And I mean, in my research in Shastri Sangeet, outside of Gurmat Sangeet, there are something called Mishrat Rags. I'm going to use this thing because it's great for this. But to explain why Rag Maru doesn't make any sense the way it is we have a rag called Rag Maru Bihag. We have a rag called Rag Maru Bihag. Everybody in the Shastri Sangeet world has one set interpretation of Rag Maru Bihag, which goes back at least 100 years. We have recordings from early 1900s of people singing Rag Maru Bihag as they sing it now. So we know, we can trust that it's the right way of singing it. This is a Mishrat Rag. So it's a Maru plus a Bihag. Bihag's its own rag, Maru's its own rag. So we know what Maru Bihag sounds like. We know exactly what Bihag sounds like. Bihag's another rag that's sung by itself, very popular. We have old recordings of it as well. We know exactly what it sounds like. So you have Maru Bihag, say it's A, and then we have Bihag, which is B, and that should give us Maru. Does that make any sense? Like, we have something that is a mishrat of two rags. We know one component of that rag. If we take the components of that rag out of that mishrat or that samir or that amalgamation of the two rags, we should be left by not the Rag Maru exactly, but at least like something that matches.
And is the one that they used to...
It's got nothing to do with anything that this Maru comes up with. It's just completely different. They use all the notes they could think of. To me, it doesn't. I've learned compositions in it as well because it's the standardized model of Rag Maru, and that's just how it is. And Rag Maru. I've talked to students of Pandit Uday Bhavalkar, who's a Drupad singer. I think they talked about Drupad yesterday.
Yeah.
So the Drupad is the older style of singing. So their compositions are dated further back than Khyal singers. Their Rag Maru matches this somewhat, which is incredible because you would think about it. The way they sing Maru is similar to this. And the way the Sikh Panth has institutionalized solidified Rag Maru in 1991 is completely different. Which, I mean, is disheartening to me because we don't even know what Rag Maru means. We read it and we read it every single day. And it's Rag Maru Kiya and no one knows what it is. No one cares what it means. It doesn't matter anymore. And we're, as a Sikh Panth, being lied to. This is a Rag Maru and this is what you must learn, which is not the case. So we're not even preserving what needs to be preserved. The rabab, which is what we talked about earlier, is the same thing. So these are the ramifications of what's happened because of us ignoring Gurmat Sangeet. One is we've lost rag completely. I mean, we could bring it back by having discourses again, but for the time being, it's lost. Some evidence for what I'm trying to say is, in Rag Maru, in the book that talks about this event that happened in 1991, they list out every single person that was at that meeting to make the rag. So they're like, this thing was there, this thing was there, this thing was there, this thing was there. And they say, at the end of the meeting, we finalize that this rag is this surup. So they get the kind of the signatures from all those ragis, that they approve. I went out and read the books of those ragis that they published themselves and authored themselves. They give a different surup of Rag Maru. So the book says that Bhai Avtar Singh, Gurcharan Singh were in the meeting and they agreed to this surup of Rag Maru. I'm like, okay. I go and pick up Bhai Avtar Singh, Gurcharan Singh's book, and they have a different Rag Maru in there. So they clearly didn't agree. Then the book says, Professor Kartar Singh was in that meeting, and he said this, I have Professor Kartar Singh's book, I open it up, I've got the screenshots, and he says, I propose a different Rag Maru, but Dilip Chandra Bedi said this is the Rag Maru, so we went with that one. So even the guys that they have the signatures on, they're not agreeing with the Rag Maru that's being presented. And I don't know if it means a lot to everybody in here, but it definitely means a lot to me, because this is my field, and not knowing what it means is terrible. Okay, the rabab. I mean, I touched on this earlier when you brought it up. Same story, the rabab that we're using today is nowhere near the rabab that we had back in the Panth. It's a new one, it's a new modification, and I mean, we just need to tell people that stop making stuff up and start doing some research. Yeah, okay, I'm going to finish on this slide. So I put that Pankti on there because people have been harassing me with it for my whole life. So I thought I'd just set the record straight and talk about it today. Every time Rag Sangeet comes up, the Pankti that's thrown at me, and I mean thrown because they're aggressive, is you talk about Rag, koi gaave ragi nadi bedi bo pant kar. The assumption there is that for some reason, I'm going to sing in Rag and I'm going to go have a drink afterwards or something. I don't know why this comes across, but this is what's thrown out. If you think about it, it says Koi Gave Ragi Nadi Bedi Bo Pant Kar. On top of that, it says Rag Asa. For some reason, people don't realize this fact that Guru Sahib is saying Koi Gave Ragi Nadi Bedi Bo Pant Kar, and he's saying it in Rag Asa. So clearly he's not referring to singing in Rag explicitly. He's not saying that singing in Rag is negative. Otherwise he wouldn't say this Pankti in the context of Rag Asa. The same thing happens in Asa Ki Baat later on when Guru Sahib says, Pehla sucha hoike laga padan salok. That's a Pankti. That's in a salok. So Guru Sahib is dissing people who read saloks in a salok. And it's not contradictory. There's a deeper point there. The point is that it's not just about the rag. The rag is very important, which is why it says Asa Malla Chota, but it's not just about the rag. And we have to recognize this difference. We don't use this argument of love and prem with any other field of arts in Sikhi. You never hear someone say, Ladivar soup is not that important because pyar mein karna hunda hai. I've never heard that. I'm yet to hear that argument in my life. You never hear any of these arguments that are made really aggressively on some aspects of Sikrat, which I'm not opposed to, in case someone's going to twist my words. But what I'm saying is that this argument of love and prayer is not a cop-out. We have to step up and learn the rags. We have to step up and educate our panth so we can learn the rags and learn the music. We can't just say, it's not, we need pyar nal karna hai, that's it. Guru Sahib is not saying the opposite thing. He's saying the same thing, pyar na karna hai, but it's maryada, it's a ret. He's specified in that rag, do it in that rag. I mean, it's almost like that's the only maryada that's repeated. I mean, there's no other maryada in Guru Granth Sahib Ji that's repeated as much as rag. On every single ang, rag, 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 rag. And that's not saying rag is most important, it's just saying that's the maryada of doing the kirtan. But for some reason, I don't know how we've conned ourselves into sidelining it. And we just say, it's almost like, okay, you do it in rag, and the argument is you do it with love, and instead of doing rag with love, it means you just sing something else. Instead of working hard and learning rag sangeet and promoting it, you just sing something else. I mean, it's a completely different genre, and it's terrible. Okay, Kirtani sensibilities. So, this is the other thing. Kirtanis always have sung shabads in different rags than prescribed in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I'm not sitting in and lying and making stuff up to hide that fact. Kirtanis were musicians, so different rags inspired them, different melodic tunes inspired them, so they'd sing shabads in different rags. So if it did say rag, a certain rag, a lot of the times Kirtanis would sing it in a rag that inspired them separately. It would still be in rag, but it would be different. The point was that the Kirtanis had sensibilities to listen to the arth of the shabad, what it's saying, what Guru Sahib is saying, and compose a tune, a composition that complements that and promotes that. I was listening to Kirtan, and this is a pinhead figure of a sanstha of Gurmat Sangeet. And he is famous, he's famous, and his students singing this composition, and he's singing the shabad, Hamwari mukh fer pyare, Karvat de mukh kahe ko mare. And it's a very dukh pare shabad hai. It's got a lot of sentiment in that shabad. Like, what it means is, why are you turning your back to me, to Guru Sahib? And it's very sentiment. There's a lot of sentiments in that. And the composition, and the guy's praising this pinhead leader in Gurmat Sangeet, saying he composed this. And I kid you not, this is the composition. Karvata de moko kahe ko mare, havari mukh fer pyare. That's the composition. And this guy is being praised as principal. This, that. But the thing is, the Kirtanis don't have sensibilities anymore. Because they haven't learned the music, they can't then use the music in the right way. They just, whatever comes to them, they compose it without paying attention to what the shabad means, because that's so terribly conflicting to what the meaning is. Karvate mo kahe ko mare. And they're just mishmashing it. Bhai Santa Singh Ji made up a tune for Darshan Ki Manas, Kaneri. And the bandish that he made conveys the meaning of the shabad. Darshan ki manaya Aas kaneri darshan ki manas. It's not in the rag, but it hits you. The composition is made to get the sangat. They're using the rag that they've learnt and applying it correctly to the shabad. But today, this concept just doesn't exist. They exploit this concept to make up whatever they want. Varying genres of kirtan. This is about why rags are important. There's a church in Sydney, 5 k's away from my house, 5 kilometers away from my house, called Hillsong. Has anyone heard of Hillsong? No. Okay, it's like Scientology but for kids. Almost. Like they just do new age stuff. They had Justin Bieber come over and sing stuff. They trying to get kids in. What they do is they hold rock concerts and this, they have a mosh pit, everything's going on. I have a proposition for the next Khalsa camp. Please. What's stopping us from holding a full-fledged rock concert? No, this is, it's comic, but it's serious. What's stopping us? Because we're only 300, 400 years in right now. There's still hundreds of years to go. What's stopping us? Pardon? Yeah. What's stopping us from holding a rock concert? We'll cover our heads. We'll take our socks off. But what's stopping us right now? If we can keep changing the genre of kirtan, which has happened right now. We sing it like qawwalis, we sing it like ghazals, we sing it like folk tunes, we do all kinds of things. But what's stopping us from full-fledged, just getting, electric guitars and bass and drum kit and everything, and holding Kirtan like that. Can anyone think of anything that's stopping us? I can't. I have nothing. The only thing that's stopping us is the fact that it says Rag, Kannada, Mala, Chota. That's it. There is nothing else in Gurbani that's stopping us from singing it as we wish. We could sing how, and this is very, it's daunting because we've already let go of that Maryada and it's been 40 years. That's it. And look where we are right now. We've lost it. And for some reason we don't want to think about it, because who wants to think about anything in the future? But just think about it. If we don't stop it now, it doesn't seem like there's any cap on it. It's just anybody's doing Kirtan however they want right now, and everybody's being promoted for it. But there is no stopping it. There will be Kirtan, not will be, I can't say that, but there's nothing stopping anyone.
Well, there are your concerts in some places of Kirtan.
Of Kirtan, exactly. And, why not? There's nothing stopping it. If you can do everything else, you can certainly do that. And for that purpose, it's an incredible stop there. The Rag, it makes so much more sense in that context for Guru Sahib just to write Rag, Kannada, because there's only, Rag is a genre. Yeah.
Doesn't that create a fear of stagnation though?
Stagnation?
Like, where's the room for innovation or growth if it's set that much?
Is Sikhi, I don't know Sikhi, if Sikhi's made for musical growth. Sikhi's made for spiritual growth. Music, Rag is the most, what Guru Sahib thought of as the most appropriate way of singing the Bani. There's no stagnation. We're not trying to grow in music, we're trying to grow spiritually, and this is the music given to us by Guru Sahib. So, the Bani is going to stay the same. We're not going to turn around and say, where's the room for growth? It's not talking about what we've discovered in science now, So that, I don't think that point's valid. It doesn't exist, it's just not relevant to the conversation. But anyways, revival. So how can we fix things, and can we fix things? I think we can, and that's simply from example of the Namtari fellas. I'm not sitting here promoting their way of life. I personally think that, it's very tough for us to coexist because there are core values of their belief which are almost challenges to the Sikh Panth. So I'm ignoring all that right now. I'm just saying the musical aspect. Their latest Satguru, as they like to call him, Jagjit Singh, who just passed away, he almost single-handedly made the Namtari Panth the top of Gurmat Sangeet, in a sense. And it wasn't before him. Before him it didn't exist. Namtaris weren't the top. So how did he do it in his lifetime? We can take example from that. What he did was, he looked around the Panth and he said, okay, it's not happening from within the Panth. It's just not happening. He went to Banaras, which is a place in India. He took vocalists, Pandit Rajan Sajan Mishra ji, who were from Banaras, and he, I don't know, maybe had an agreement or something, whatever, and he sent 6 with him. Said, you learn how to be good vocalists. He took Pandit Kishan Maharaj, who was a tabla player, and he talked to him and he said, his students, he gave him students. He took Bismillah Khan Sahib, who was a Tashanai player, and he gave him students. So he realized that it's not happening within the Panth, and we have so much dasband being generated that we could literally take, we could just get the top musicians and say, you stop playing concerts, we'll pay you twice as much, you just stay here and you teach. But we won't do it because we don't think it's important. But he did it, and this is how he did it. He just went out to the right people, he sent them, hundreds of kids, and out of those hundreds, 5, 10, 15 came back, talented, and now they're propagating it. Personally, I think he's going to die back down because the next guy that's the leader, Uday Singh, he's not musical. So, I don't think he's going to...
you can already see it starting to...
Yeah. So, but the point is that that's how he revived it. And we can take example from that and say, if he can do it, so can the Sikh Panth. It's not hard. The SGPC just needs to do something positive and pay attention to the arts and, fix it. Okay, I think that was the last one. So is there any questions about stuff? Yeah.
For when you talk about the revolve and everything, how does that relate to like how the Afghanis play? Because they still play that quite a bit.
They play the other one.
So was there a big difference between that one compared to the one we played then?
A lot of difference. I mean,
You have that video.
no, I don't. I need the internet for that one. But I mean, maybe afterwards I can show you 2 videos of how the Afghanis play it. The Afghani.
There's Wi-Fi.
So do they play? Do we play that version right now then?
Yeah, that's a bit.
There's no password.
That's the. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. What's all set password out? Let that noise in.
Can you figure it? American accent. American? Canadian? English? Indian or both? Australia कितना ज़्यादा मिलता? इंग्लैंड लगे? अलग ही लगना मुझे कनाडा
YouTube. So Sam Harris.
Let's look at your recommended ones.
Sam Harris, you know that.
Australia.
What's it called?
You know, पता नहीं पर I think.
So this is the one that we're playing right now for some reason. Best ever 10 minutes. Brace yourself. Yeah, so see, that's the one we're playing right now. If I just go to Bob Sick or something, that's the one that will most likely come up. See? Central Sikh Gurdwara. This guy.
No, this is the
Can you give us an example of the other one again?
Yeah, so the other one would be something like Ghaffar Ahmad Khan plays it, but no one really plays it. It's very tough to find it.
Where's that Jawab of Quran? Did you know which Quran that is?
No, I don't, that's a photo of you somewhere. Online there's a photo. See it? Yeah. The resonance, way different. That's very, I mean, it's for dancers and those kind of environment. I searched for Bob in here. You get what the photos of rabbis. See, if you look at this one, it's very similar to what's being played right now. You see how it's nice and round at the end, and it can be held like this. Is that kind of? He's already bored. Does that kind of answer anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else?
Is there a reason why the Jawab became more popular in the later gurus? Is there stories behind that or no? Or?
Yeah, so Taus was played before by all the former gurus after Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji. Have you heard the story of how the Taus came into existence? So basically what happened was, in the time of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, whoever the Mughal ruler, he had a takht, throne, and he used to call it Takht-e-Taus. And so he used to sit on it, had all the jewels that he had stolen and this and that, and embedded into the throne. He used to sit there like a king and oppress people from that throne. When Guru Sahib heard of this throne, he said to his Sikhs, that whatever his name was, the Mughal guy, he's like, Jahangir. He's like, Jahangir has Takht-e-Taus. His Taus, which translates to peacock, his Taus, because it was shaped like a big peacock, anyways. His Taus, Guru Sahib said his taos oppresses people, but the Singhs will have a taos that will liberate people. So he made the taos. He made an instrument in the form of a peacock that, we can do kirtan with. And then we just kind of
So Guru Hargobind said
did away with it.
So Guru Hargobind said you created the instrument?
He said it.
That's awesome.
Then when the war started, Jang Jada Hon Lape by Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time, it was very hard to carry the instrument around. So they adapted it to a smaller one called the Dilruba. And it's easier for horseback. And so you that's how the adaptation came. That's what they say happened. But that's why Dilruba is more famous with the later gurus.
There is a Dilruba Guru Gobind Singh, right? I think.
I don't know, sorry. Yeah.
I can't remember which battle it was where Singh stopped to do classes about Kirtan.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's proper. Were they doing it? Was Maharaj actually playing an instrument? Remember?
It was after the evacuation of Anandpur side, that
Okay.
very night.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, Guru Sahib said, we have to do that's the Guru Nanak.
Okay.
We have to keep it even in battle. And Singhs like Sajjad Ajit Singh and Bhai Manbir Singh and other Singhs they were the Peredars around the Sangat. And then they say Guru Sahib himself saying Asadullah. That's what I read.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We don't know exactly what happened on the CCTV, but the point is that Kirtan was important, and the point is that that's what the Singhs kept Saj with them. I have a few Guru Bhais. I don't know how to translate that. I have a few people that learn with me under my teacher. So we have the same teacher, and one of them is a jazz musician from America. And I was having this discussion with him 2 weeks ago in India when I was there, and we were just talking, and he just stopped, and he's like, "Isn't that incredible? Can you imagine the American army right now having to carrying instruments, and saying, oh crap, this instrument's too big for battle. We need to design a new one that's smaller so we can take and do Kirtan in Afghanistan or whatever, And that's I never thought of it that way, but that's how it was. The Singhs were in battle, and they thought that Kirtan was so important, and they thought Kirtan with Tanti Saj made by Guru Sahib was that important, that Guru Sahib made a new instrument for them to play on. But yeah, so that did happen, certainly it did happen. Yeah. Guru Gobind Singh Ji was known to do a lot of Kirtan on the Tampura. He's known he really liked the Rag Malkons is what they say. Just random facts. But yeah, anyone else?
I don't know if this has been spoken about before in any of the talks, but can you speak at all about the role of Singniya in Rag Kirtan or in Gurbani Kirtan? If there is any at all.
Well, there's no Singhs that I can reference either. It's not like there's a lot of Singhs I can reference and not.
But are there
Singing
any women
in
that
sense.
that intersected those moments at all?
Role of what?
Singani
Singani.
Oh, singing.
and I don't know. This is not to say that. If you ask the same question with Singhs instead of Singani, I couldn't answer it either.
Right.
It's just when the history comes of music, it just comes as the music in Sikhs. It doesn't come as music and a Sikh with a gender. It doesn't come as Singhs used to do this. It just comes as Sikhs used to do this. So I can't answer that question specifically in terms of because both. Everybody was a musician. All that comes in with this is that the Bhasa doesn't know women. That's the only most relevant point to Kirtan and women that I can think of. But I can't think of anything that ever happened that, prohibited women from doing Kirtan, nor encouraged them because that wasn't required. Everybody was equal, so you don't need to encourage someone to do anything if that's the norm. But I can't think of anything specific to do with that. Yeah.
There's one instance, Baba Deep Singh and his mother used to do Kirtan in Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Darbar. And that's where Baba Deep Singh first came to Guru Gobind Singh Ji's attention. And because of his prowess at Kirtan as a young child with his mother.
Is there anyone else? Cool, I think that's a wrap. Japnam's going to come now. Thank you. Why would you go, Khalsa?